The room was silent except for the faint hum of machinery. The Galactic War Council's chamber floated high above the planet Valora, a world known for its shimmering crystal forests and advanced technology. Inside the circular room, representatives from dozens of planets sat around a massive table, their faces illuminated by holographic displays. Among them were Commander Alex Carter and Ambassador Laura Bennett, both representing Earth. They exchanged uneasy glances as the Council's leader, Chancellor Marcus Hale, stood to address the assembly. Hale's voice echoed through the chamber. "We have gathered here today to discuss an urgent matter. Valora." He paused, letting his words sink in. Intelligence reports suggest that Valora has been secretly developing weapons of mass destruction. If true, this violates every treaty we've signed as members of the Galactic Alliance. Laura leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "Chancellor, with all due respect, these accusations seem unfounded. Valora has been one of our strongest allies. Where is the evidence?" Hale's cold eyes locked onto hers. "Evidence will be presented shortly," he said, gesturing to a screen behind him. A series of images appeared, blueprints of what looked like advanced weaponry systems. Murmurs spread through the room. Some delegates nodded grimly, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Alex clenched his fists under the table. Something felt wrong about this whole situation. Valora had always been peaceful, sharing its knowledge freely with other worlds, including Earth. Why would they suddenly risk everything by building weapons? He glanced at Laura, who seemed just as skeptical. Before anyone could ask more questions, Admiral Gregory Hayes, a tall man with sharp features and an even sharper tone, stepped forward. "Enough talk," he declared. "If Valora refuses to cooperate, then action must be taken immediately. We cannot allow such a threat to grow unchecked." Laura stood up quickly, her voice firm. "This is madness. You can't make decisions based on speculation alone. Give us time to investigate." But Hale cut her off. "Time is a luxury we do not have. The vote has already been cast. All in favor of neutralizing the threat posed by Valora, raise your hands." One by one, most of the delegates raised their hands, some reluctantly, others eagerly. Alex watched in disbelief as the majority sided with Hale. Only a handful abstained, including Earth's representatives. His heart sank. This wasn't justice, it was betrayal. Minutes later, alarms blared across the council chamber. On the main screen, live footage showed drones descending upon Valora's surface. Explosions erupted in cities once vibrant with life. Crystal towers shattered, sending shards raining down like deadly snowflakes. Screams filled the airwaves as Valorans scrambled for safety. Alex turned to Hale, his voice trembling with anger. "You didn't even give them a chance to defend themselves." Hale simply stared back, unmoved. Sometimes sacrifices must be made for the greater good. Tears welled up in Laura's eyes as she whispered, almost to herself, "This isn't leadership, it's tyranny." Back on Earth, news of the attack spread rapidly. People gathered in streets and squares, watching horrified as reports poured in about the devastation on Valora. For Alex and Laura, it was personal. They had failed to stop the massacre. But deep down, they knew this wasn't over. The seeds of rebellion had already been planted, and Earth wouldn't stay silent forever. The news hit Earth like a shockwave. Within hours, every screen in every home flickered with images of Valora's destruction, smoke rising from its once glorious cities, shattered crystal spires glinting under the alien sun. People gathered in streets and parks, their faces pale with disbelief. Some cried openly. Others clenched their fists in anger. The betrayal by the Galactic War Council felt like a punch to the gut, leaving humanity struggling to make sense of what had happened. At Central Command, General Ryan Mitchell stood at the head of a long conference table, his expression grim. Around him sat military leaders, diplomats, and scientists, all trying to process the disaster. Lieutenant Sarah Collins, a young but highly skilled pilot, leaned forward in her seat, her jaw tight with frustration. She had grown up hearing stories about Valora's kindness and generosity toward Earth during times of need. Now those memories felt tainted. "Sir," Sarah said, breaking the tense silence, "we can't just sit here and do nothing. The council framed Valora. They lied to everyone. We have to find out why." Mitchell nodded slowly. "I agree. But we're walking on thin ice here. If we act too quickly or recklessly, the council might turn its sights on us next." A man seated near the end of the table cleared his throat. It was Dr. Emily Grant, a soft-spoken astrophysicist known for her work on alien technology. Her eyes were red-rimmed from lack of sleep, but her voice carried determination. "We recovered pieces of wreckage from Valora after the attack," she said. "If I can analyze them, maybe I can find proof that the council fabricated those accusations." Mitchell rubbed his temples. "Do it. And fast. Whatever you uncover could be our only chance to expose the truth." Sarah raised her hand slightly, catching the general's attention. "Sir, if I may, I want to lead a mission. A covert operation to gather more intel. If we can get close enough to the council's operations, we might find something they don't want us to see." Mitchell studied her for a moment. He knew Sarah was one of their best pilots, not just because of her skills, but because of her unshakable resolve. Finally, he gave a curt nod. "Permission granted. Assemble a small team. Keep it off the books." As the meeting broke up, Sarah approached Alex Carter, who had returned from the council chamber looking hollowed out. His usually confident posture was gone, replaced by slumped shoulders and a distant gaze. "Alex," she said gently, "we'll fix this. I promise." He looked at her, pain etched into his face. "Will we?" "Valora's gone, Sarah. Millions of lives wiped out in minutes. How do you even begin to fix something like that?" She placed a hand on his arm. "By making sure it never happens again. To anyone." Over the next few days, tensions between Earth and the Galactic War Council reached a boiling point. Diplomatic channels were shut down, and trade routes were blocked. Protests erupted outside Earth's major cities, with crowds chanting slogans like "Justice for Valora" and "No more lies." Even within the military, whispers of dissent began to spread. Meanwhile, Sarah worked tirelessly to prepare for her mission. She selected 3 trusted teammates: Captain Jake Monroe, an experienced navigator; Corporal Mia Torres, a tech expert; and Sergeant Ben Harper, a combat specialist. Together, they reviewed classified maps of council-controlled space, searching for weak points where they could slip through undetected. Dr. Grant, meanwhile, buried herself in her lab, examining fragments of Valoran technology salvaged from the wreckage. Late one night, as she pored over glowing circuits and strange symbols, she stumbled upon something unusual: a hidden data log. Her heart raced as she realized it might contain the evidence they needed. But decoding it would take time, and time was running out. Across the galaxy, rumors swirled about Earth's growing defiance. The Council watched closely, waiting to see if humanity would fall in line or rebel. Little did they know, a storm was brewing, one that would challenge their power in ways they couldn't imagine. Deep beneath the Nevada desert, hidden from prying eyes and Council satellites, a group of rebels gathered in a dimly lit bunker. The air was thick with tension, but also determination. These were people who had seen enough: the betrayal of Valora, the lies spun by the Galactic War Council, and the looming threat to Earth itself. They called themselves Earth's Defenders, a name that carried both hope and defiance. Commander Alex Carter stood at the front of the room, his voice steady despite the weight on his shoulders. "We've all seen what the Council is capable of," he said, addressing the crowd. "They destroyed an entire planet without warning, without proof. If we don't stand up now, who will?" The room erupted in murmurs of agreement. Among those listening intently was Lieutenant Sarah Collins, her sharp eyes scanning the faces around her. She felt a surge of pride seeing so many willing to fight back, even if it meant risking everything. Beside her sat Dr. Emily Grant, clutching a tablet filled with data from the Valoran wreckage. Her discovery had given them a glimmer of hope, but it wasn't enough yet. "We need to act fast," Alex continued. "Dr. Grant has uncovered something important, evidence that could expose the Council's crimes. But we can't just sit here and wait for her to finish decoding it. We need to hit them where it hurts." Sarah stepped forward, drawing everyone's attention. "I've put together a team for a covert mission. Our goal is to infiltrate one of their supply depots near Mars. If we can gather intel or sabotage their operations, it'll buy us time. And send a message." A man in the back raised his hand. It was Sergeant Ben Harper, a burly soldier with a no-nonsense attitude. "What about weapons? We're outnumbered and outgunned. How do we stand a chance?" Alex nodded, acknowledging the concern. "That's where Dr. Grant comes in again. She's working on adapting Valoran tech we recovered. If she succeeds, we might have an edge against their forces." Emily spoke up, her voice calm but firm. "I'm close to cracking the data log. Once I do, we'll know exactly how the Council framed Valora. But until then, we'll have to rely on speed and stealth." The meeting ended with a sense of purpose. Teams dispersed to prepare, some training for combat, others fine-tuning equipment or planning routes. Sarah spent hours reviewing maps with Captain Jake Monroe, their navigator. They pored over star charts, searching for safe paths through Council-controlled space. The depot near Mars was heavily guarded, but Sarah believed they could slip in unnoticed if they timed it right. Meanwhile, Emily worked late into the night, her fingers flying across her tablet as lines of alien code scrolled past. Every few minutes, she paused to jot down notes or cross-reference symbols. Finally, after days of relentless effort, she found something. A fragment of communication between high-ranking Council members. It mentioned falsified reports and a plan to seize Valora's energy resources. Her hands trembled as she realized the magnitude of what she'd uncovered. "This changes everything," she whispered to herself. Word of Emily's breakthrough spread quickly. Alex called another meeting to share the news. "This is it," he said, holding up a copy of the decoded message. "Proof that the Council lied. Now we just need to get it out there." But broadcasting the evidence wouldn't be easy. The Council monitored all communications, and any attempt to transmit the data would alert them instantly. That's when Sarah proposed a bold idea: infiltrating the Council's central communications hub on Titan. It was risky, almost suicidal, but it was their best shot at exposing the truth to the galaxy. As plans came together, the defenders grew closer, united by a shared cause. For the first time since the attack on Valora, there was a flicker of hope. They weren't just fighting for revenge. They were fighting for justice, for freedom, and for the future of every species caught in the Council's web of lies. And though the road ahead was fraught with danger, none of them doubted they were doing the right thing. *** document. Part 4 ***. The journey to Titan was long and tense. Sarah Collins sat in the cockpit of her sleek, black fighter ship, gripping the controls as she led her small team through the vast emptiness of space. Behind her were Captain Jake Monroe, Corporal Neo Torres, and Sergeant Ben Harper, each manning their own ships in tight formation. The mission ahead weighed heavily on all of them, but none more so than Sarah. She knew that failure wasn't an option. If they didn't reach the communications hub, the evidence against the Galactic War Council would remain buried forever. As they approached Saturn's orbit, the team slowed their ships to avoid detection. Titan loomed in the distance, its icy surface glinting faintly under the dim sunlight. The Council's central communications hub was located near the Moon's equator, a massive structure bristling with antennas and shielded by layers of advanced security systems. Getting inside wouldn't be easy, but Sarah had spent hours strategizing with Jake to find the safest route. "We're entering the danger zone," Jake's voice crackled over the comms. "Stay sharp." Sarah nodded, even though no one could see her. "Copy that. Keep your eyes peeled for patrols." Minutes later, alarms blared in Sarah's cockpit. A squadron of Council drones appeared on the radar, heading straight toward them. Her heart raced as she activated the ship's cloaking device, praying it would hold long enough to slip past unnoticed. One by one, the rest of the team followed suit, their ships vanishing from view as the drones zipped by without detecting them. "Close call," Mia muttered over the comms. "Too close." "Stay focused," Sarah replied firmly. "We're not done yet." Once they reached Titan's surface, the team landed in a secluded crater far from the hub. They suited up in stealth gear designed to mask their heat signatures and moved cautiously across the frozen terrain. The air was silent except for the crunch of their boots on the icy ground. Every step felt like walking into a trap, but there was no turning back now. When they finally reached the base of the communications tower, Mia went to work disabling the outer defenses. Her hands moved quickly over the control panel, bypassing firewalls and rerouting power grids. "I've got access," she whispered after a few nerve-wracking minutes. "Let's move." Inside, the corridors were eerily quiet, lit only by faint blue lights embedded in the walls. The team split up. Sarah and Jake headed for the server room, while Mia and Ben stayed behind to cover their escape route. As they navigated the maze-like hallways, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Her instincts proved right when two council guards rounded a corner, spotting them immediately. "Freeze!" one of the guards shouted, raising his weapon. Without hesitation, Sarah fired a stun blast, dropping the first guard. Jake took out the second with precision accuracy. "Quickly," he urged, motioning for her to keep moving. They reached the server room moments later, where Alex Carter's decoded message awaited upload. Sarah inserted a data chip into the main console, her fingers trembling slightly as she initiated the transfer. "This is it," she said softly. "The truth is about to come out." But just as the transmission began, red warning lights flashed throughout the facility. Alarms screamed, echoing off the metallic walls. "They know we're here," Jake yelled. Sarah clenched her jaw. "We don't have time to wait. Let's go." The team regrouped at the exit, dodging council reinforcements as they made their way back to the ships. Bullets ricocheted around them, and explosions rocked the ground beneath their feet. Despite the chaos, they managed to board their vessels and launch into space, leaving Titan and the Council's secrets behind. As they sped away, Sarah glanced at the data log on her screen. The evidence was already spreading across the galaxy, lighting up communication networks and sparking outrage among alien species. For the first time in days, a small smile crossed her face. The Council's lies were exposed, and the fight for justice had only just begun. The escape from Titan was anything but smooth. As Sarah's ship soared away from the moon's icy surface, alarms blared in her cockpit. The Council's forces weren't about to let them go so easily. A squadron of heavily armed cruisers emerged from behind Titan's shadow, their engines glowing like angry eyes as they closed in on the fleeing rebels. "Hang on," Sarah said over the comms, her voice steady despite the chaos. She pushed the throttle forward, weaving her ship through a field of debris left by the battle. Behind her, Jake, Mia, and Ben followed closely, dodging blasts from enemy fire. "This is insane," Mia shouted, her voice tinged with panic. "They're everywhere." Sarah gritted her teeth. "Stay focused. We've been through worse." Jake chimed in, his calm tone cutting through the tension. "Stick to the plan. If we can get to the asteroid belt, we'll lose them." The asteroid belt wasn't far, just beyond Saturn's rings, but reaching it felt like an impossible task. The Council ships were gaining ground, their weapons tearing through space with deadly precision. One of the asteroids exploded nearby, sending shards of rock flying toward the team. Sarah swerved sharply to avoid a collision, her hands gripping the controls tightly. "Ben, how are you holding up?" she asked, glancing at her radar screen. "I'm fine," came the gruff reply. "But my shields are down to 20%. I won't last much longer if they keep this up." "We're almost there," Jake assured him. "Just a little farther." As they approached the edge of the asteroid belt, Sarah made a split-second decision. "Break formation," she ordered. "Scatter and regroup on the other side. They won't be able to follow us all." Without waiting for confirmation, she veered sharply to the left, disappearing into the dense cluster of rocks. The others did the same, each taking a different path through the jagged maze. For several tense minutes, the only sounds in Sarah's cockpit were the hum of her engines and the occasional crackle of static from the comms. Finally, she emerged on the far side of the belt, breathing a sigh of relief when she saw Jake's ship appear moments later. Mia and Ben followed soon after, their vessels battered but intact. "Everyone okay?" Sarah asked, scanning her instruments. "We're alive," Ben replied, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "That's good enough for me." The team regrouped briefly before setting course for Earth. None of them spoke much during the journey home. They were too busy processing what had just happened. The mission had been a success, but at a cost. Their ships were damaged, their nerves frayed, and the weight of what they'd uncovered hung over them like a storm cloud. When they finally landed at the hidden base beneath the Nevada desert, they were greeted by Alex Carter and General Ryan Mitchell. Both men looked anxious but hopeful as Sarah stepped out of her ship. "Well?" Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's done," Sarah replied, unclipping her helmet. "The evidence is out there now. The galaxy knows the truth." Alex nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. "Good work, but this isn't over. Not by a long shot." General Mitchell stepped forward, his face grim. "The Council will retaliate, and when they do, we need to be ready." Dr. Emily Grant hurried over, clutching her tablet. Her eyes sparkled with excitement. The data log confirmed everything. The Council framed Valora to seize their energy resources. It's all right here, proof that they manipulated reports and falsified evidence. "That's our leverage," Alex said firmly. "We'll use it to rally support. Every species they've wronged will have a reason to join us." Sarah crossed her arms, staring at the group. "It's not just about revenge anymore. This is bigger than us. We're fighting for everyone who's ever been silenced or betrayed by the Council." The room fell silent as the reality of their situation sank in. They had exposed one of the most powerful organizations in the galaxy, and now they were preparing for war. But for the first time, there was a sense of unity among them, a shared purpose that bound them together. As Sarah walked away, she glanced up at the stars visible through the base's skylight. Somewhere out there, the seeds of rebellion were taking root. The Council had underestimated humanity and its allies. Now, Earth's defenders would show them the true power of standing together. The galaxy was ablaze with outrage. Within hours of the evidence being broadcast, protests erupted on dozens of planets. Holographic screens in city squares displayed the damning data logs showing how the Galactic War Council had framed Valora. Alien species that had once trusted the Council now turned against it, their anger boiling over into action. For Earth's defenders, the response was both heartening and overwhelming. Back at the hidden base beneath the Nevada desert, Alex Carter stood in front of a large monitor displaying live feeds from across the galaxy. Crowds chanted slogans like "Justice for Valora" and "Down with Tyranny." Some planets even declared independence from the Council, severing ties entirely. It was clear the rebellion had begun. "This is bigger than we thought," Alex said, turning to General Ryan Mitchell. "We've lit a fire." Mitchell nodded, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. "A fire they'll try to stamp out. The Council won't take this lying down." Sarah Collins entered the room just as Emily Grant rushed in holding her tablet. Her face was flushed with excitement. "You need to see this," she said, tapping the screen to project an image onto the wall. It showed several alien fleets, species once loyal to the Council, declaring their support for Earth's defenders. One by one, they pledged ships, weapons, and soldiers to the cause. Alex felt a surge of hope, but tempered it quickly. "This changes everything," he said. "But we're still outnumbered. If we want to win, we'll need more than allies. We'll need strategy." General Mitchell stepped forward, pointing at a map of the galaxy displayed on another screen. We strike where it hurts most. Their central command is on Proxima Prime. Take that out, and the Council loses its grip. Sarah frowned. That's suicide. They'll have every ship and soldier guarding it. Not if we draw them away first, Jake Monroe interjected, walking into the room. He carried a datapad filled with calculations and star charts. If we hit key supply depots near the outer rim, they'll send reinforcements to protect them. That'll leave Proxima Prime vulnerable. Emily nodded slowly. It could work, but timing will be critical. We'll need precise coordination. Alex turned to Sarah. Can your team handle the decoy missions? She met his gaze without hesitation. Absolutely. Just tell me where to go. Over the next few days, plans were finalized. Earth's defenders reached out to their newfound allies, organizing joint operations to strike at the Council's resources. Meanwhile, Emily worked tirelessly in her lab, refining the prototype weapon based on Valoran technology. The energy cannon, capable of disabling enemy ships without causing casualties, would give them a crucial advantage. As preparations continued, tension mounted. Everyone knew the coming battles would decide the fate of the galaxy. Sarah spent long hours training new recruits, teaching them advanced combat tactics while reminding them why they were fighting. This isn't about revenge, she told them repeatedly. It's about justice, for Valora, for Earth, and for everyone who suffered under the Council. On the eve of the operation, Alex gathered the team in the briefing room. His voice was steady but carried the weight of what lay ahead. Tomorrow, we start the fight that will change everything. Stay sharp, trust each other, and remember why we're here. Together, we can bring down the Council. No one spoke as they left the room, each lost in their thoughts. Sarah walked outside the base, staring up at the night sky. She thought of Valora, their shimmering cities now reduced to rubble, and vowed silently that their sacrifice wouldn't be forgotten. Behind her, Jake joined her, offering a small smile. "We've got this," he said quietly. Sarah nodded, her resolve hardening. "Yeah, we do." Above them, the stars burned brightly, witnesses to the storm about to sweep through the galaxy. Earth's defenders were ready. The galaxy was alive with movement. Ships from Earth and its newfound allies gathered in secret locations, preparing for the coordinated strikes that would weaken the Council's grip. The first wave of attacks targeted supply depots scattered across the outer rim. Strategic hits designed to stretch the Council's forces thin. Each mission was risky, but the rebels executed them with precision. Sarah Collins led one such operation, her fighter slicing through space alongside a squadron of alien ships. Their target was a massive fuel storage facility orbiting a barren moon. As they approached, Sarah could see the Council's defenses lighting up the darkness. Turrets swiveling into position, drones launching like angry hornets. "Stay sharp," she said over the comms. "We only get one shot at this." Her team responded with quick affirmations. They split into two groups, drawing fire away from the main strike force. Jake Monroe stayed close to Sarah's wing, his calm voice guiding her through the chaos. "You're clear on your 6, he said as another drone exploded behind them. The decoy worked. The Council scrambled reinforcements to protect their assets, leaving Proxima Prime less guarded than usual. Back at Earth's hidden base, Alex Carter watched live updates from each battle unfold on a large monitor. His hands clenched into fists as he saw flashes of destruction, but also determination. The rebels were holding their own. Meanwhile, Emily Grant and her team readied the prototype energy cannon for deployment. It had taken weeks of testing and adjustments, but now it stood mounted on Earth's flagship, the Eclipse Asterisk. Its sleek design masked its immense power. A single blast could disable an entire fleet without causing loss of life. Emily ran final diagnostics, her fingers trembling slightly as she double-checked every connection. "This is it," General Mitchell said, standing beside her. "If this doesn't work, we're finished." Emily nodded firmly. It'll work. I built it to. As the decoy missions wrapped up, Earth's defenders regrouped near Saturn's rings. From there, they would launch their assault on Proxima Prime. Morale was high despite the danger ahead. Pilots shared stories, engineers fine-tuned engines, and soldiers checked weapons. Everyone knew the stakes. Alex addressed the assembled troops, his voice carrying authority. Today, we fight for more than revenge. We fight for justice, for Valora, for freedom, and for every species the Council has wronged. Together, we can end their tyranny. Cheers erupted, echoing through the cavernous hangar. Sarah stood among the crowd, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and resolve. She glanced at Jake, who gave her a reassuring nod. "Let's finish this," she whispered. Hours later, the rebel fleet emerged from hyperspace near Proxima Prime. The Council's central command loomed ahead, a fortress-like structure surrounded by layers of defensive ships. Alarms blared as the rebels charged forward, their vessels weaving through enemy fire. "Deploy the cannon." Alex ordered from the bridge of the Eclipse Asterisk. Emily activated the weapon, her breath catching as a bright beam of energy surged toward the Council's blockade. Ships dropped out of formation, disabled but intact. Cheers erupted aboard the rebel ships as gaps opened in the enemy lines. But the Council wasn't done yet. Admiral Gregory Hayes appeared on screen, his face twisted with fury. "You think you've won?" He spat. "This isn't over." Despite his words, the tide had turned. With their defenses crumbling, the Council retreated deeper into Proxima Prime. The rebels pressed their advantage, pushing closer to victory. For the first time, hope burned brighter than fear. Earth's defenders weren't just fighting. They were winning. The battle for Proxima Prime raged on, the air thick with tension and the deafening roar of engines and explosions. Earth's defenders pushed forward, their ships darting through the chaos like streaks of light. The Council's forces fought back fiercely, but the rebels' coordinated strikes were wearing them down. Every blast from the energy cannon sent waves of disabled ships drifting into the void, clearing a path toward the central command. Sarah Collins led her squadron with sharp precision, her fighter weaving through enemy fire as she targeted key points in the Council's defenses. Her comms crackled with updates from Jake Monroe, who stayed close to her wing. "Watch your left," he shouted as a Council drone narrowly missed her ship. She banked hard, firing a quick burst that sent the drone spiraling away. "Thanks," she muttered, her voice tight with focus. The closer they got to the central command, the fiercer the resistance became. It was clear the Council wasn't going to give up without a fight. On the Eclipse Asterisk, Alex Carter monitored the battle from the bridge, his eyes scanning the tactical displays. The rebels had made significant progress, but the Council's flagship, the massive Dominion Asterisk, still loomed at the heart of the conflict. Its weapon systems glowed ominously as it unleashed devastating barrages against the rebel fleet. "We need to take out the Dominion Asterisk," Alex said firmly, turning to General Mitchell. "If we don't, it'll keep tearing us apart." Mitchell nodded grimly. "Agreed. But how do we get close enough?" Emily Grant stepped forward, her face pale but determined. "I can recalibrate the energy cannon to focus its power on a single target. If we aim it at the Dominion Asterisk's core, we might be able to disable it completely." Alex hesitated for a moment, then gave a sharp nod. "Do it. Fast." Emily rushed to the weapons control panel, her fingers flying over the keys as she adjusted the settings. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she worked, knowing that one mistake could mean disaster. Finally, she looked up, her voice steady despite the pressure. "It's ready. But we'll only get one shot." Alex turned to the pilot. "Take us in. Get us within range." The Eclipse Asterisk surged forward, dodging enemy fire as it closed in on the Dominion Asterisk. Around them, Sarah and her squadron provided cover, drawing the Council's attention away from the flagship. Explosions lit up the darkness as ships clashed in a deadly dance. "Hold steady," Alex ordered as the Eclipse lined up its shot. Emily activated the cannon, her hands trembling slightly as she initiated the firing sequence. A brilliant beam of energy shot out, striking the Dominion dead center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Council's flagship shuddered violently, its lights flickering before going dark entirely. "It worked," Emily exclaimed, her voice breaking with relief. But the victory was short-lived. Admiral Gregory Hayes appeared on screen once more, his expression cold and calculating. "You've cost us dearly," he snarled, "but you won't stop us." Before anyone could respond, Hayes' ship detached from the crippled Dominion fleeing deeper into Proxima Prime's fortified sectors. Alex clenched his fists, frustration burning in his chest. "He's running," he growled. "We need to follow him." Sarah's voice came over the comms, firm and resolute. "I'll go after him. My team can handle it." "No," Alex replied quickly. "We're finishing this together." With the Council's forces in disarray, the rebels pressed their advantage, storming the Central Command. Soldiers poured into the facility, engaging in fierce hand-to-hand combat with Council troops. Alex led the charge, his weapon drawn as he pushed deeper into the complex. Behind him, Sarah, Jake, and Ben fought side by side, their movements synchronized after weeks of training. Finally, they reached the Council chamber, a vast room filled with holographic displays and shattered consoles. In the center stood Chancellor Marcus Hale, his face pale but defiant. "You think this changes anything?" he sneered. "The Council will rise again." Alex stepped forward, his voice icy. "Not if we have anything to say about it." As the rebels secured the chamber, the galaxy watched in awe. The Council's reign was crumbling, and hope began to spread like wildfire. For Earth's defenders, the hardest part was over. But the fight for justice was far from finished. The fall of the Galactic War Council's Central Command sent shockwaves through the galaxy. As news spread, celebrations erupted on planets that had long lived under the Council's oppressive rule. Streets were filled with cheering crowds, waving makeshift banners, and chanting slogans like "Freedom at last" and "No more lies." For Earth's defenders, it was a moment of triumph, but also one of reflection. Inside the Council chamber on Proxima Prime, Chancellor Marcus Hale sat slumped in his chair, surrounded by rebel soldiers. His face was pale, his usual arrogance replaced by defeat. Alex Carter stood before him, his expression unreadable. "It's over," Alex said firmly. "Your lies and betrayals have cost too many lives." Hale glared at him, but didn't respond. Nearby, Admiral Gregory Hayes was being escorted into the room in handcuffs, his escape attempt foiled by Sarah Collins and her team. Hayes struggled against his captors, his voice dripping with venom. "You think this changes anything? You're just replacing one power with another." Sarah stepped forward, her tone sharp. "We're not here to rule. We're here to rebuild, to make things right." With the Council's leaders captured, the rebels began dismantling their operations. Files were seized, weapons systems deactivated, and communication networks shut down. Emily Grant worked tirelessly alongside a team of scientists, sifting through data to uncover any remaining secrets. Every discovery added fuel to the growing movement for change. Back on Earth, General Ryan Mitchell addressed a global audience from Central Command. "Today marks the beginning of a new era," he declared. "The Galactic War Council is no more, but our work is far from finished. Together, we must ensure that no one ever wields such unchecked power again." His words resonated across the galaxy. Alien species that had once feared the Council now offered their support, pledging resources and knowledge to help create a fairer system. The United Galactic Alliance, UGA, was officially formed, with Alex Carter appointed as its first leader. Sarah Collins became the face of the Alliance's military branch, inspiring millions with her courage and determination. But not everyone celebrated. On distant planets, remnants of the Council's forces regrouped, vowing revenge. Secret messages passed between loyalists, plotting to reclaim what they had lost. Admiral Hayes, imprisoned aboard the Eclipse remained defiant, whispering threats to anyone who would listen. "This isn't the end," he muttered darkly. "You'll see." Despite these lingering threats, Earth's defenders pressed on. They knew the road ahead would be difficult. Rebuilding trust, healing wounds, and forging alliances wouldn't happen overnight. But they were ready. In hidden bases and newly liberated worlds, plans took shape for a brighter future. One evening, Sarah stood outside the Nevada base, staring up at the stars. Jake joined her, handing her a cup of coffee. "You okay?" he asked gently. She nodded, though her eyes reflected both pride and sadness. "It feels surreal, doesn't it? After everything, we actually did it." Jake smiled softly. "Yeah, but we couldn't have done it without you." Sarah shook her head. "Not just me. Everyone. Valora started this fight. We just carried the torch." Her words hung in the air, a reminder of the sacrifices made along the way. Inside the base, Alex met with Emily, reviewing blueprints for a monument dedicated to Valora. Made from fragments of their crystal spires and powered by their energy technology, it would stand as a symbol of unity and remembrance. As the galaxy slowly healed, Earth's defenders prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. They had faced tyranny and emerged victorious, not through hatred or vengeance, but through hope and resilience. And though the scars of war would remain, so too would the promise of peace. Above them, the stars shone brightly, guiding the way forward. Months passed, and the galaxy began to heal. The scars of war still lingered, shattered cities, displaced families, and memories too painful to forget. But there was a sense of renewal in the air. Earth's defenders had accomplished what once seemed impossible. They had dismantled the Galactic War Council and laid the foundation for a new order. Now, it was time to honor those who had been lost and celebrate the unity that had emerged from chaos. On a quiet hill overlooking Earth's capital city, construction crews worked tirelessly to complete the monument dedicated to Valora. Made from shimmering crystal fragments salvaged from the ruins of their world, it stood tall against the sky, glowing faintly under the sunlight. At its base, an inscription read, *To Valora, whose light guided us through darkness. May their legacy inspire peace for all. *. The unveiling ceremony drew representatives from across the galaxy. Humans, aliens, and even artificial beings gathered together, united by shared grief and hope. Alex Carter stood at the podium, his voice steady as he addressed the crowd. "Today, we remember Valora, not just as victims of betrayal, but as symbols of courage and kindness. Their generosity changed us, and their sacrifice will never be forgotten." Sarah Collins watched from the sidelines, her heart swelling with pride. She spotted Jake nearby, leaning casually against a railing, and gave him a small smile. Around them, alien leaders embraced, exchanging stories of survival and gratitude. For the first time in years, the galaxy felt alive with possibility. As the ceremony ended, Emily Grant approached Alex, her tablet in hand. "We've finished analyzing the last of the Council's files," she said softly. "There's evidence of more atrocities, entire planets exploited or silenced. But also, hope. Many species want to join the UGA. They see this as a chance to start fresh." Alex nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Then let's give them that chance. Together, we'll build something better." In the weeks that followed, the United Galactic Alliance, UGA, grew stronger. Trade routes reopened, scientific collaborations flourished, and ambassadors from newly liberated worlds arrived daily to contribute their voices. Earth became a hub of diplomacy, its skies filled with ships carrying delegates eager to participate in shaping the future. But challenges remained. Remnants of the Council continued to plot revenge, striking at vulnerable outposts and spreading fear. Admiral Hayes, now imprisoned on a remote moon, remained a symbol of resistance for loyalists. Yet Earth's defenders were ready. Under Sarah's leadership, the Alliance's military branch trained tirelessly, preparing for any threat while striving to protect innocent lives. One evening, Alex joined Sarah on the balcony of Central Command. Below them, the city buzzed with activity, lights twinkling like stars reflected in the distance. "Do you think we've done enough?" Alex asked quietly. Sarah shook her head. "It's not about doing enough. It's about doing what's right. We've taken the first step, but there's always more work to do." Alex smiled faintly. "You're right. And as long as people like you are leading the way, I think we'll be okay." Far beyond Earth, survivors of Valora emerged from hiding, hesitant but hopeful. When they saw the monument and heard of the UGA's efforts, tears streamed down their faces. They sent messages of thanks, vowing to share their knowledge and help rebuild what had been lost. Their resilience reminded everyone why the fight had mattered. As the stars twinkled above, Earth's defenders looked toward the horizon, knowing the journey ahead wouldn't be easy. But they faced it together, with courage, determination, and a shared vision of peace. The galaxy had endured darkness, but now it was bathed in light. And though the road would be long, the promise of a brighter tomorrow burned fiercely in every heart.